The Raid on Iona, 795 to 802. After the catastrophe at Lindisfarne, the North Sea was no longer just a restless body of water whispering winter tales. It became a dark reminder that the old world was cracking open. Along the coasts of England and Scotland, monks spoke in low voices about the dragon-prowed ships as if they were part of a single collective nightmare. Every wave crashing against the rocks, every gust of wind threading through the cliffs made people hold their breath, wondering whether it was the sound of another raid drawing near. Far out in the Hebrides, the small island of Iona still stood like an ancient relic carved from the sea. Iona was not wealthy, nor was it a place of grandeur, but it carried a holiness deeper than stone. Here, Saint Columba had planted one of the brightest seeds of Christianity in Scotland. The monastery buildings, low stone walls, roofs woven from seagrass, narrow halls smelling of ink and old parchment, blended with the ocean winds to create a kind of sacred music that could be heard nowhere else in the world. Life on the island moved gently, rhythmically. The ringing of the bell at dawn, the scratching of quills on vellum, the soft vows whispered in the chapel. There was Ogan, the youngest monk but the most gifted scribe. Cormac, nearly blind in one eye but able to recite scripture from memory for hours. And Abbot Dearmite, whose voice had echoed through the cloisters for more than half a lifetime. Their days were so simple that even the cry of a single bird could become a story for supper. So when the summer winds of 795 carried a strange smell, something like charred wood, resin, and iron, no one paid attention. They believed it was only the air shifting with the season. Late one night, Ogan stepped outside for water and noticed a faint red streak cutting across the horizon. At first he thought it was a falling star, but the light did not fall. It was moving closer. The next morning, as Dearmite lifted the cross and began the prayer that welcomed each day, a long guttural horn blast tore through the air like the roar of a monstrous beast. The monks froze. Out of the drifting mist, the Viking ships emerged, silent and terrible, their dragon heads shimmering with dew. Warriors with painted faces and round shields leapt onto the sand, their presence so sudden and violent that some monks crumpled out of sheer terror. That first raid came swiftly and vanished almost as quickly. The Vikings smashed open several rooms, seized silver relics, ripped the cross from the altar. A young monk was knocked to the ground, his leg broken. A few manuscripts were torn apart. But unlike Lindisfarne, the raiders spilled little blood before retreating to their ships. The attack of 795 passed over Iona like a shadow, not long enough to destroy, but long enough to plant fear deep into the island's bones.
The months that followed felt like waiting for a storm that refused to break. Monks repaired doors, thickened the walls, buried some manuscripts in wooden chests, transferred a few relics to Mull. But they did not flee. Iona was not just their dwelling. It was their history, their identity, their promise to God. Leaving would have felt like abandoning their own souls. Egan continued copying sacred texts, though his hand trembled every time the wind slapped against the shutters. Some nights he dreamed of flames devouring the scriptorium, and when he awoke, he would sit for a long time staring at the swaying flame of his oil lamp, trying to decide whether the horrors in his mind had roots in reality. Fear did not fade. It simply burrowed deeper, becoming part of the air they breathed. In 801, Traders from Ireland passed by the island and mentioned that the Northmen had begun using distant islands as outposts. The news came and went, shifting like rumor, but Dearmot knew the truth. "Those who found weakness here once," he said quietly, "will not forget the way back." He was right. In the spring of 802, the sky looked wrong. Not blue, not even gray, but a heavy metallic shade, as if the world were holding its breath. Waves slammed against the rocks so fiercely that foam sprayed higher than the cliffs. Cormac stood on the dark shore for a long time, then finally whispered, "Not a storm. I have lived here long enough to know. The sea is not angry. It is warning us. Something evil is coming." Before anyone could ask what he meant, black shapes began to bloom along the eastern horizon, at first like a scattered flock of birds, but then growing, sharpening, multiplying. As they approached, their true forms became undeniable. More than 30 long ships, so many that they darkened the water beneath them. There was no escape, no time to ring the bell, no chance to barricade the doors. The Vikings crashed onto the island with the fury of a metallic tempest. The monastery gates splintered after only a few blows. Screams echoed across the courtyards. Some monks fled toward the small stone cells, others toward the hidden chamber beneath the scriptorium, but the path was narrow, the distance too great. Flames consumed the scriptorium first, either by intention or instinct, perhaps because the raiders understood that the heart of Iona beat within its manuscripts. Walls crackled and collapsed. Fire climbed the beams like a hungry animal. Smoke rose so thick that it turned the sun into a blood-red disk. Dearmot stood before the chamber of relics, frail yet unyielding. "Down to the vault," he commanded. Egan and a handful of monks gathered the most precious manuscripts and hauled them underground. As they slammed the heavy stone door shut, the thud of axes rained above them like thunder pounding on heaven's gate.
The Dintel and the last of the dreams we had among lone wild plains are peaked so high that starlight sparkled off their snow mantle. The soul room, also known as the secret heart, is located at the base of the spine. It is the seat of hearth, the place of inner fire, and is referred to as the root of all our channels. It is this soul room that aids and nourishes our physical body and accompanies us when we leave this life. By going deeper within, we can see that our core personality sits in that soul room.